Hi there. This is obviously a first for this channel, as usually I don't really do any kinds of reviews, but of course since, well, Dustin Goblin is kind of doing his own kind of like food reviews, I feel like I may as well just kind of do my own, except, well, since I'm not really a food guy, next best thing is video games, and oh boy do I have at least a handful of video games I feel like at least giving some reviews to. I've wanted to do this for a while, and well, considering the fact that these developers decided to follow me on Blue Sky, cough cough shameless plug, I kind of felt almost obligated to at least check out what it was that they're working on. So today's game that we're going to be reviewing is Tailside, or more specifically the current public demo. The game itself isn't really finished and it doesn't exactly have like anything other than its demo currently publicly available, so all we can really base anything off of right now is of course what's available in the demo. And I will say the demo is actually pretty promising, but of course, as per usual, there are in fact a few little shortcomings here and there that I guarantee you are probably going to be ironed out here in the near future, but regardless, let's just get into the actual review here. Let's get started here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So let's get some of the criticisms out of the way first whenever it comes to Tailside. First of all, the main menu is, well, kind of mute. Like, there aren't any real sound effects for any of the buttons, nor is there really any menu music. And I kind of, you know, the static background is kind of a little bit off-putting. Pretty much everything about the intro is actually relatively off-putting, to be honest. In fact, when I was actually trying to get footage for this game, I legitimately thought that my headphones just weren't actually getting enough audio. Honestly, it was a nice little jump scare to suddenly actually have, you know, some music play when I actually got into the game, but, oh my goodness, the lack of audio within the menu genuinely scared me. I would have thought that there would have at least been, like, maybe some sound effects or something, but there's just kind of nothing going on whenever it comes to the main menu. I assume that when the full release comes along, that'll hopefully be fixed, but as of right now, that is just unbelievably jarring. That really just kind of freaked me out for a minute, but hey, you know, whatever. It's at least fixed in when you actually get into the game, but the main menu is really silent. Another little critique that I could probably throw in there is, of course, maybe a little bit of variation in the music would be nice, because as of right now, there's really only one track in the entire game. I assume that'll probably be, you know, expanded upon. After all, in the list of things that they plan to add in, they apparently plan to add in, like, a day and night cycle. So I assume that probably the music will probably change alongside with the time of day. At least I can only hope so, because that would actually be kind of nice. Because as much as I love the main track that does play, it kind of starts to feel a little bit repetitive after, like, I think the 15th time. Now, of course, the demo itself is only about, like, 30-something minutes long, you know, depending on what you actually decide to do. It can probably last, even less time, or more time, depending on what you decide to do. You can only go up to, like, level 10 in the entire game, and from there, it's just kind of, like, almost like an endless mode of, like, the basic stuff, so that's kind of what is currently available in the demo, and of course it has what, you know, the game developers plan to add in the future. So let's quickly get into the actual game itself. So the main game itself basically has you as the main player character, currently unnamed to my knowledge, kind of just, you know, making the rounds and kind of running their own little cozy coffee shop. That's kind of the overall MO of the game, and that's kind of really all you get. After all, there's only like 2, I guess technically 3 characters that you're kind of introduced to within the demo. There's Toffee, there's the rabbit, Layla, that was her name. And then there's the male person, which I cannot remember the name of off the top of my head. Editing Sanity will have to find that at some point during the actual editing process, because as of right now, I cannot be asked to try and remember his name, but supposedly there's probably going to be some more explanation on what he does in the future. Supposedly he's going to be the one that kind of delivers stuff to you. So yeah, the game itself only has like the 1 floor, and it kind of has like a few little basic things that you have to, you know, deal with. It kind of gives you the basic tutorial on how like some of the main, you know, mechanics of the game work, like how to make the currently 3 different types of coffee that at least exist within the demo version of the game. There's the espresso, there's the macchiato, if I remember correctly, and then there is the latte. And the main difference between the two is whether or not you decide to add milk, and also depending on what kind of cup you decide to use, which, as someone that actually worked at a coffee shop that sold similar types of coffee like this, Yeah, that's kind of accurate, I'd say. The overall, like, system in order to actually make the coffee is actually pretty straightforward once you actually figure it out. And every once in a while, you kind of have to sort through the beans to make sure that you actually, you know, have, like, the good ones, so that way you can kind of keep working, which I guess is pretty nice. I assume that as, like, more stuff is added in, there's probably going to be more types of good beans that you have to try and make sure that you select, because, you know, I assume that there's going to be more and more purpose to some of the other beans or something along those lines, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not the developers, but I assume that there's probably going to be a lot more work put into this as time goes on. But even in its current state, there's at least a few little things that you can do. It also has like this little kind of like almost like, I'm not entirely sure what you would call it, but it kind of has like a little bit of a building mechanic to it, where you can kind of like, you know, set down decorations and whatnot. Kind of has like that Sims-esque style, which I think is really nice. So you're not just standing at the counter and making coffee the entire time. You can also kind of like, you know, actually decorate the place and actually try to make it look nice. I assume as more areas are added into the game, there's going to be more areas for you to decorate. I assume that some of the more personal areas you'll be able to decorate. At least I can only hope so. Maybe there will be an outside area. That would actually be pretty nice in my personal opinion. But, you know, overall, the mechanics in both the actual coffee making as well as the building system are actually, you know, pretty straightforward, pretty easily understandable, and I assume are probably going to be expanded on as time goes on, because honestly, again, it has a ton of promise whenever it comes to it. Another thing that you're probably going to end up doing, which is towards like the end of the demo here, when like the first round of actual customers starts showing up, is of course actually cleaning up the place, because apparently the first round of customers is like these forest spirits, if I remember correctly, and they just kind of like leave the cups all over the place, so you have to like pick those up in order to make sure that the place actually looks presentable and not like, you know, a fucking tornado went through it. It at least kind of has like a little bit of a gameplay loop to it, so that way you're not just stuck at a coffee making station the entire time. It at least probably has a little bit more of a purpose. You know, you can attract more customers if the place actually looks nice and decorated and whatnot. And of course, you know, there's like a little bit of an in-game shop to use all the money that you accumulate from your sold cups of coffee, if you will, which is, you know, again, very nice. I'm glad that adds it in. I assume that the levels are probably going to have a bit more of a purpose, like maybe as you level up you unlock more like decorations or more types of coffee or something like that. That's going to be my guess. It's pretty straightforward. And even like some of the other stuff that's added in, like for example like the latte art kind of thing, that's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple to understand, and it's also kind of impossible to kind of mess up, which, I mean, can be a little bit of a turnoff for some people. Maybe some people would like a little bit of, like, you know, needing to be accurate whenever it comes to stuff like that, but I personally don't really mind, because again, it's probably trying to go for the more cozy and simple kind of style rather than something that you need to try and be accurate with. But who knows, maybe they'll kind of expand on that, maybe add in like a hard mode into the game or something like that. That would be kind of funny, if I'm going to be completely honest. So now let's actually get into the aesthetic of the game. I love the art style of this game. I'm just going to be dead honest right here. I love the overall style of all the characters. I can pretty much tell what each of them are supposed to be, except for Toffee. I have no idea what animal Toffee is supposed to be, but I at least know the main player character is a fox, and Layla is a rabbit, and they look at, and all three of the ones that you at least get to see are absolutely adorable. The art style is fantastic. Props to whoever does the sprite work in this game. Honestly, give them a raise, because they're cooking mad hard as of right now, and I can only assume that they're going to improve as the game continues development, because honestly, the art style in this game is probably one of my favorite things about this entire game. The overall visuals of the game are absolutely nice. I'm a sucker for sprite work, because I've tried to do sprite work. It is not easy, so honestly, anyone that can do sprite work immediately gets like props to me, because I can't understand how in the fuck that magic actually works, okay? So whoever does the work on this game, props to you. You're absolutely fantastic. It's pretty much like, again, probably the most standout part of the game in my personal opinion. You know, second only to like the overall gameplay loop of the game, obviously, which is, again, very nice. The dialogue in the game is pretty simple. I assume that, again, as the game is actually continues development, and maybe in the full release of the game, there's going to be a lot more. I assume that there's probably going to be like maybe some kind of a storyline. Maybe there's going to be like an intro cinematic to kind of give a little bit of context as to why this Fox character is now running a coffee shop. Like, that'll be actually kind of cool. But, you know, as of right now, it's pretty standard. It's just like your basic tutorial, you know, go ahead and do this, you know, whatever. And, you know, it's not too crazy, if I'm going to be completely honest. In fact, I kind of like the simplistic style that the game is actually going for, as I've already reiterated time and time again whenever it comes to this overall review. So now it's time for me, with all of that being laid out, it's time for me to kind of give it a little bit of a score, and I feel like I might as well just kind of take a page out of Destin Goblin's book by kind of giving it like a bit of a seal of approval, okay? Now, of course, I'll probably expand on how this looks at some point in the near future, but as of right now, this is just what the Sanity seal of approval is going to look, and of course, to make it at least legally distinct from the Destin Goblin seal of approval, I'm going to have it be a 5-star system. Now, of course, as the demo currently is right now, I'm going to give it about 4 stars. The overall aesthetic of the game is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love it. It's adorable. The systems within the game are pretty solid, albeit could probably be fleshed out just a little bit more to at least kind of increase immersion. And of course, the methods to kind of get you out of, like, you know, just only staying at one station the entire time are also very nice, and I assume will probably be, again, expanded on as the game continues development. In terms of any of the negatives, obviously the title screen is a little bit lacking and could probably use a little bit more flair to kind of make it stand out a little bit more, and especially some music, because it was jarring as hell to go into a main menu and not have any music or sound effects. The sound effects and music are fixed when you get into the game, but for some reason they just don't exist on the title screen. And, of course, you know, maybe a little bit more variation in the soundtrack, which I assume will come with the day and night cycle. So, of course, other than, like, those few little things, overall, the game itself is absolutely solid. It absolutely nails the vibe that's trying to go for, and it almost kind of reminds me of, like, those old, like, you know, cool math flash games, if you will, like the Papa's Pizzeria kind of thing. It kind of gives off that kind of similar vibe, and you don't really see a whole lot of those kinds of games anymore, mainly because of Adobe killing Adobe Flash. So, of course, I'm glad to see a game like this kind of, you know, pop up again and kind of nail that kind of, like, you know, similar vibe, but kind of go a little bit toned back a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more laid back and a lot more cozy, if you will, and I really love that. So overall, 4 stars, seal of approval whenever it comes to this game. Go ahead and check it out. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below, and if I forget to do so, scream at me in the comments if I forget to actually put the links. That's the end of today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like. That's very well appreciated. Leave a comment down below what you thought about the video, what you want me to talk about next, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content such as this. Also, go ahead and follow me on Blue Sky, join the Discord server down below. Special thanks to my channel members, MadFox94 and Nemesis. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And yeah, anyways guys, this has been Sanity, and I'll see you guys in the next video.